Okay, it being 7 p.m. Today is March 1st. This is the regularly scheduled planning board meeting in Arundel. We are meeting on Zoom. We have on the agenda approval of the agenda, approval of minutes of February 15th, 2022. We have space for public comment. Public comment is for those people in the public that have a comment to make or a question about something that is going on that is not on the agenda. So if you have questions about the agenda, hang in there, we'll get to it. Then we have pending applications. We have two pending applications, Goff Brook Farm, a subdivision preliminary plan, and Irving Road subdivision, Randrick Trust, a minor subdivision. Then we have three new applications. Ellie Perkins MJP Properties LLC, a major 4-lot subdivision sketch plan. Item 2 is Enterprise Drive, lots 9 and 10, a pre-application site plan review. Item number 3 is Crossroads MHP subdivision amendment. Then we will have other business and the town planner report. I need a motion.
So
Make a
moved.
motion, we approve the agenda as written.
Okay. Paul made the motion. Susan Roth seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I forgot to call for a roll call. We have
Figured you were gonna do that after you.
Paul Green, Marty Kane, Susan Roth, Susan Sinnet, and myself. I'm Rich Ganong, regardless of what it says underneath my name on the screen. So we've had a motion made by Paul Green, seconded by Susan Roth to accept the agenda as presented. And no discussion. Those in favor? Paul?
Aye.
Marty?
Aye.
Susan Roth?
Aye.
Susan Sinnet?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Next item is approval of the minutes from February 15th.
I move that we accept the minutes from February 15th.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Susan Roth, seconded by Marty Kane to approve the minutes of the February 15th meeting. Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, those in favor? Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
Marty said aye. Susan Roth?
Yes.
Susan Sinnet?
Aye.
It is unanimous. On to the next item. You know, it helps if I keep the agenda in my hand so I know where I'm going. Public comment. As I stated earlier, this is the time for people who have who are in the meeting and have discussion about items that are not on the agenda. And let the record reflect that Jamie just joined us. Anybody from the public have any questions? If so, you're going to have to unmute yourself if you do, because you are muted. No, I will take that as a sign that nobody has any questions, and we will move on to pending applications. The first pending application is Goff Brook Farm subdivision preliminary plan, a proposal to construct a 14-lot residential cluster subdivision on a 41-acre parcel located at 166 Log Cabin Road. The property is located in the R3 and 4 zone on tax map 38, lot 21. The applicant is Porter Land Preservation LLC, and the applicant's agent is Stephen Dow of Sebago Technics Incorporated. Sorry about that, Stephen.
That's all right. It's actually Steve Doe.
It is Dow.
It is Doe.
Well, in that case, I give up.
You had it right the first time.
Okay.
Excuse me, if you're not speaking, can you mute your computer, please?
Who's this?
Thank you.
Okay, before we get started, we had a letter come in. It is dated February 16th, and it relates to Goff Brook Farm. I don't know, Mr. Woods, are you here?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I am.
Okay, I'll read this letter for everybody. It came in on February 16th, so we didn't get to address it. It is dated February 10th, however, the person that handles the planning office was not available. She was out that week, so it got missed. So first, addressing the site walk of July 6, 2020, letter of concern that was delivered by me to the town clerk's office the day after. This letter was never mentioned in the 2/1/22 Zoom meeting and was never acknowledged by anyone in the planning board department. This letter is again included in hopes that it is reviewed for project concerns. Secondly, regarding the recent February 1st, 2022 Zoom discussion, of which my wife and I were able to view as others who were blocked out as we could see during this meeting.
To the chair.
Yes,
That letter is actually from Mr. and Mrs. Haskell, not Mr. Wood.
oh, you're right. I'm sorry, because I have another one that is from Mr. Woods.
Right. I mean, that's the one that came in on February 16th, but it was from the Haskell.
It was from the Haskells. You are correct. All right. Thank you for pointing that out.
No problem.
Mr. Stephen Wood commented upon the soil structure of this proposed development from a very knowledgeable standpoint. He addressed lack of soil material versus septic runoff due to a shallow water table and low percolation rate due to clay soils, etc. We totally agree with this as we have witnessed this firsthand in attempts to dig post holes. It is clay bound and very difficult to dig in. Further digging is always a chore as it rapidly fills with water. A grading of D- came up, and that may be conservative. Another question is, how did permits for crossing wetlands happen? Since this directly impacts our property that we carry flood insurance on, we are truly concerned that due to the natural drainage issues now will be exacerbated further. We have noticed within the last few years, as storms occur, a rise in the creek level into our property, creating erosion of the land bank, etc. The gentleman from Sebago Technics during this meeting seemed to us to be backtracking on this issue and only focusing on the upper side of the project and skirting the creek side toward our property and dwelling. It appears to only be common sense that the drainage, again due to soil structure, will follow downhill to the creek and contaminate the surrounding ecosystem. Another question, and we may have incorrect. Do we understand that the proposed dwelling units are to be built on a slab? Why is this? Drainage issues? The issue of traffic flow was addressed by an area resident, of which we were also very concerned with. Conservatively, this project will add 30+ more vehicles to an already fatal and accident-prone road. What about the construction vehicles during this process? My wife and I, over the past several years, have watched speeding vehicles, volumes of tour buses go by, and we have personally pulled people out of the ditches. Did not even mention the motorcycle convoys that go by at Mach 2. How many more tragic accidents are we going to see? Many questions need to be answered and not just zoomed under the carpet for this project. Mr. Dustin and I have had a few meetings together, and we have appreciated his time with us. However, as he stated that these homes are going to be in the $650,000 to $700,000 plus range, this would also address the affordable homes issue. As a former director manager of York County Habitat for Humanity, this was far from what we called affordable. It was also amusing to both my wife and I that during the February 1st Zoom meeting that one of the planning board members asked where exactly the site was. As other residents that are close to this project portray their concerns, we feel that a further in-depth discussion needs to happen. We do not need to be zoomed over on this one. And that is respectfully submitted, Bob and Suzanne Haskell, 154 Log Cabin Road. The next letter is from Mr. Wood. And it was sent. No, I guess this one is also from the Haskells. And this one was sent to all of the planning board members. This letter of observation is in regards and concerns to the development on Log Cabin Road, Goff Brook Farm by Dewston Construction, Porter Land Preservation LLC, per the walk on July 6th with members of the planning board and residents. Prior to the walks, we have met with Mr. Dewston on a couple of occasions impromptu to discuss what was being planned. During the site walk, July 6th, it was apparent that things have changed and understand that this process will do so until permitted. As adjacent property owners to this property, we would like to address our concerns, questions to the planning board. Setbacks and buffering, number of lots and dwelling size, water table effects, brook habitat, health, current, wildlife, brook versus development, leach field drainage, proposed trails, traffic, days, hours of operation. Proposed 75-foot setbacks regarding the brook do not seem to be enough. We have witnessed throughout the past several years the rise and erosion of all the brooks, creeks, rivers, etc. The brook at high rains infiltrates our property from 1 to 2 feet. Will leach fields contaminate and contribute to the rise in levels during heavy rains? Can this be certain? We currently pay a high premium for flood insurance, so we assume that this is an issue. As per the Goff Brook subdivision plans per Sebago Technics Incorporated for 14 lots. During our site walk on several occasions, Mr. Dewston referred to the number of lots at 17. My wife Suzanne even noticed a stake that was numbered as number 17 in another spot, of which Mr. Dewston had to backtrack on. How many lots are really being proposed? Dwelling size was another question asked by attendees. Mr. Dewston stated that it was 2 bedrooms at 2,000 to 2,500 square foot dwellings. Again, Mr. Dewston suggested that maybe potential buyers may ask for 3 or 4 bedrooms. Does this increase leach field size? Does this have further effects upon what is stated in setbacks and buffering?
In progress.
What ramifications does this development have on the water table? We have experienced drought situations over the past few years. Multiple wells, it would seem, would certainly have an impact on the water table, a confluence of Goff Brook tributaries. Again, during the site walk, a resident asked about the increase in arsenic levels in the past few years, of which they have never experienced before. No crystal ball here. The entire open property, as my wife and I have witnessed over the years, is a haven for wildlife native to Maine. Yes, we understand development and the toll it takes on nature, which is sad. We ask that a qualified person from the Maine Department of Fish and Wildlife review the species that we have seen, leopard frogs, turtles, brook trout, and the effects that this development may have on their environment. Leach field size and location were discussed at site walk, but were again vague in explanation. Not to be redundant, but a question about drainage was asked. Mr. Dewston addressed this as being 75 feet or so with no effect to groundwater infiltration. Is this certain, or do we guess and possibly suffer the consequences later after all is done? There was talk of trail development to open spaces and easement to the Conservation Trust. That is well, and the question is, will it be turned into bike trails such as the KCT trails on Guinea Road? Will they encroach on wildlife habitat and our property? It is well known that traffic problems are of concern to all of us that reside off Log Cabin Road. Tragedies such as fatalities have continued due to high speed and crowding road conditions on this road. My wife and I witness virtually every day motorists, motorcyclists that are driving erratically and above speed limits. We over the years have consistently had cars, trucks, motorcycles, etc., end up in the ditch annually due to this road. The development entrance is situated at the top of the road where we would exit from our property at 154 Log Cabin Road must be very diligent upon pulling out as motorists ramp it up at this spot to speed by. What will construction vehicles pulling in and out create? Arundel has no policing of this area, occasional drive-bys. Thus, accidents are the result. We have even offered to utilize our driveway to let them witness what it is like on Log Cabin Speedway. Will the accidents be escalated, increased traffic from this development? We think yes. Again, it seems vague that the hours of operation for this development will be known. Knowing weather influences construction and what is the long-term plan for development. It is our hope that the planning board will take into consideration a few of the concerns we have addressed. In addition, as we plan to address our concerns with Mr. Dustin, we hope that reason and the sanctity of open spaces be considered and not have seemingly gentrification of Maine and its environs be subjected to the development that is out of control. Respectfully submitted, Robert and Suzanne Haskell, 154 Log Cabin Road, Arundel, Maine. Okay, and then we have a letter that is addressed to the Haskells related to the fact that their letters never made it into the public record. And this is from the Land Use Office Manager. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Haskell, I am writing to apologize for my oversight. Back in July, you had submitted a letter to the planning board expressing your concerns regarding the Goff Brook Farm project. At that time, I scanned your letter and put it in the file for the project, anticipating that we would soon receive a preliminary plan application. It was my intention to send the letter to the planning board along with the new application in their meeting packet. There was a delay in us receiving the preliminary plan. There is a 6-month deadline. So in late January, the applicant had to resubmit the sketch plan, which is step 1. I neglected without intention to send your letter to them at that time. When I realized my mistake, I did send it along on February 8th, 2022 via email to them and to Mr. Doe, the applicant's engineer. Please accept my sincere apology for this oversight. I want to assure you that I received your letter this morning on my desk, and I immediately scanned all 4 pages and emailed them again to the planning board. Lee J. Feldman, our planner, Stephen Doe, and Sean Dustin. They are aware of your concerns and will address them in a public hearing, which will be scheduled once the preliminary plan application has been deemed complete by the planning board. The meeting on March 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. is the first review of the preliminary plan. At that time, if the board deems the application complete, they will set a date for the public hearing. At that public hearing, anyone is welcome to speak and bring up concerns, and all written comments and concerns will be addressed by the board at that time. The applicant would then make any adjustments to the plan that the board requires and present a final plan application for the board to continue its review. I hope I have explained the process in a way that is understandable. If not, please call me at the number below, Town Hall Extension 101, or email me at luomanager@arundelmaine.org. I will do my best to answer any question you have. Sincerely, Ann Tardif, Land Use Office Manager, Town of Arundel. Excuse me. I think the first thing to do is to turn this over to Stephen Dow and Stephen Doe and see
Stephen
if he
Doe.
wants to address any of the issues.
The
Thank you.
chair, excuse me, to the chair, should we read Mr. Wood's letter too?
Oh, thank you. I knew I had seen a letter from Mr. Woods. Stephen A. Wood, 43 Centennial Street, Claremont, New Hampshire. Comments on Goff Brook Farm proposed clustered housing development, 166 Log Cabin Road, Arundel, Maine. I appreciate being able to meet with the developer, Sean Dustin, during the Arundel Planning Board site walk on July 6, 2021. Here are my follow-up comments and suggestions regarding this proposed development. Because as I understand it, waste and water will come from on-site rather than the municipality, I believe it is imperative that a detailed on-site soil survey be done to determine the feasibility and carrying capacity of the site for the anticipated demand of those services. I am pleased to see the amount of designated open space in the plan and hope there is some sort of guarantee that the open space would continue to remain undeveloped into the future. I would also ask a detailed plan be developed for management of this open space to enhance its existing and future value for wildlife habitat, water protection, conservation, aesthetics, and other environmental features. Possible activities could include establishing prairie lawns as an alternative to manicured golf greens, prohibiting use of herbicides on conventional lawns, maintaining some areas in early successional stages of growth, allowing for existence of certain wildlife species not found in older established forests, and identifying as existing vernal pools in order to preserve them where possible for habitat for salamanders, frogs, and fairy shrimp. Carefully constructed small man-made pools can also function as vernal pools. Thank you for the opportunity to offer these suggestions. Stephen Wood, a butter of proposed development, owner of Arundel property, map 38, lot 21A. And now I will turn it over to Mr. Dell, and he can address some of these issues.
Great, thank you. Also with me tonight is Sean Dewston and Amy McNally. If I fail to answer some of the questions or comments, hopefully they can prod me or jump in on some of those. Again, thank you for hearing us. We were in front of the board a month ago for the sketch plan. The plan in front of you today is that same plan. And we provided the preliminary plan application, which has a lot of documents in it that I think address a lot of the comments that Mr. Wood and the Haskells have asked or are concerned about. I'll try to hit most of them. Hopefully I hit them all. If not, there will be a public hearing and, I can even address them then. I'll go to the Haskells first. There were several letters they sent. They were both very similar in what they were concerned about. And so I'll try to hit those. I think as far as setbacks and buffering, on the stream that's closest to them and split both of our properties, we are having 100-foot stream setback on that. That was a requirement or a request from the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife that we maintain 100-foot setback. So we are doing that. Same on Goff Brook. That one is shoreland zone, which requires 100-foot. Actually, if I can share my screen.
Can you show us, Steve, where some of these things are?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So we can,
You should
note
have it
them.
now, Steve.
Okay. Screen share. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. We're viewing Keith's or Rick's screen right now.
Okay, let's try that now.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
I can get it now. All right, so this is the subdivision plan. And I'll kind of zoom into the areas specifically. So this is,
You don't
The
see it,
Haskell-
Steve.
I'm not seeing
we're not
it.
seeing it, Steve.
all right, let me try it again.
We still see Rich's screen.
Rich may have to stop
me-
sharing.
Try this. See anything yet?
Stop sharing.
No.
No, nothing yet.
Rich has to stop sharing first.
No, I have it set so that multiple participants can share simultaneously.
But we only see your screen.
why don't you log out, Rick and Rich, and come back in again?
I won't be able to get back in, and if I log out, everybody loses. 'Cause
I meant stop sharing your screen and then share it again.
Oh, okay.
Now, can you share to Steve on your own?
Let me see here. Anything?
Yep.
You see it now?
You start. There we go.
All right, okay.
Everyone-
Let me zoom out here just to kind of give everybody orientation on where things are. Log Cabin Road is over here. This is the proposed road. The lot encompasses this area. Goff Brook is over here. And then this is the secondary stream that flows through the site. Mr. Wood lives up here, I believe. Let me zoom in just to verify that. So Mr. Wood lives up here. The Haskells live over here off Log Cabin Road. So along this stream, which comes down through here, we have a 100-foot setback on that stream for the lots. I know they're concerned with flooding on their property. These lots that we're proposing will not be in the floodplain. So there, I believe, are probably in the floodplain, and that's why they have the flood insurance, but our lots will not. I know that doesn't address their concerns about flooding, and I'll get to that in a moment. But so anyway, we have a 100-foot setback from the stream here. And then on the Goff Brook, this is the 100-foot setback. So the lots are pretty well outside the 100-foot setback over there. This boulder line is the 250-foot shoreland zone line. And really only lot 6 is the one that's mostly into that distance between 250 and 100. Your house is probably going to be built in this location. Lot 5, the house will be built up here, and lot 7 will be here. So those houses generally would be outside of the 250. So I'm kind of just going through their letter here. Hopefully I can hit these things. So I think as far as buffering of the stream, we are at a minimum of 100 feet, and the houses probably will be even greater than that in pretty much all the cases. As far as the houses themselves and the septic systems, we did have a nitrate study that was in the application that talks about where the septic fields are going and the nitrate levels coming out of those and how this project meets the standards for that. Those are shown in the application booklet. We have designed all the septic fields to be at a 4-bedroom capacity, anticipating that, the larger size that could be anticipated out here. I know Ms. Sean talked about maybe 2 bedrooms, but we designed this for 4 bedrooms to kind of look at the worst case on that. They also talked about concern for the water table and some of the drought conditions. Also in the nitrate study, there is a section that was done on groundwater and how that how much water the groundwater is getting recharged at. And that's on page 3 of their report. And it talks about in this area, there's roughly 3 inches per year, what they say a value of 3 inches per year of recharge. So a subdivision of this size is estimated to use 5,760 gallons per day. But when you look at the value of the recharge, the recharge is at 9,800 gallons per day. So there's more being recharged than what is actually taking out. Yes, there is arsenic in the area. Arsenic, from what I understand, is naturally occurring in the area. There are filters that would have to be added to these homes, their wells, to filter out the arsenic. There was also questions about the homes being constructed on slabs. Yes, the groundwater is high in areas. That's evident by the high intensity soil survey that we provided and test pits that we have. We do not anticipate these homes having basements. We've cited the homes in what we call the higher elevations of the property. Most likely they will have crawl spaces, but we do not see basements. Maybe lot 6. Some of these lots over here maybe have potential for basements, but I think the majority will be slab on grade or crawl spaces.
Talking about.
And also in Mr. Wood's letter, as well as the Haskells, they were concerned about the wildlife. There was a vernal pool study and there was no vernal pools found on the property. Inland Fisheries and Wildlife
In this
has
meeting.
reviewed this and provided a narrative on that, which is in our application booklet, and also with the DEP. This property, as far as open space, there's 44 acres of land here, and we're developing, or from a lot perspective, that's 17 acres. And again, I'll just kind of zoom out to kind of give you an idea. So this is the 17 acres of the 44. 25 of the acres are dedicated for open space. We have a 50-foot minimum buffer that goes around the property. And there's also these wetland fingers that kind of bisect through the property, which will also provide open space to some degree, because we're not impacting those wetlands other than what you see in the dark areas. Those are where we will be filling those. So you got some natural courses that will cut through this property, which kind of adds to that 25 acres of open space that's kind of part of the lots. There is a portion over here that the developer is considering dedicating to the Conservation Trust. That will be its own, they will have their own access from their land over here. There will not be a trail system from this land into this development. There's no public trails planned within this part here. The association may choose to put trails in, but they will not be public trails. It'd be only for the development itself. Again, I'm just trying to looking through some of the comments here, trying to get them all if I can.
Goes there, I guess,
Mr. Wood had some comments.
at the meeting. Conservation Trust is involved.
I don't know if Mr. Wood has seen the application, but there is a high intensity soil survey in there. I know he has some comments about how the open space is going to be managed. I'll have to get with Sean on that. I believe it's going to be managed by the homeowners association. There's no plans to improve it as far as, making what he called manicure lawns and that. I think it would just remain in its natural state and be allowed to kind of regrow. I got all the comments. Let me just go back to the Haskell's letter. Hours of operation, that would, I assume it relates to construction. That would be whatever the town allows. I think it's probably a 7 o'clock start time, and whether it's a 5 or 7 PM, I'm not clear on that, but it would be whatever the town allows for hours of operation during construction. I hope I hit most of it. I may not have, but I don't know if Sean or Amy have any more to add to that, or if the board feels I need to address more, I'd be happy to do that.
I think you covered things pretty good. I mean, certainly if the board's got any questions, as you say. I think we're also trying to, be as respectful to this whole environment and impact. And I think you'll see that in your submission, the quality of the work these guys have been doing over the last several months. So, again, if there's any questions specific, happy to answer them.
I did recall one other item. I know there was concern about flooding. And this project has gone to DEP. As part of the DEP does not require us to look at flooding, but the town standards do require us to look at flooding. So we have in our stormwater management report, 3 stormwater treatment areas that also serve as detention areas. And if you look through that report, the what they call the pre-development versus the post-development. Once this is developed, the runoff is at or below what its pre-existing development is. So that's an improvement to what's happening out there today. So we're going to be detaining the water for as an improved condition there. And also for stormwater treatment with the DEP, we're required to treat 90% of the roadway and then 80% of the lots as far as the runoff. And we're actually improving that even more. The roadway, I believe, is at 97% that we're treating, and the lots are, I think, around 95%. So again, it's above what the minimum standards are with the DEP.
To the chair, it's Susan Roth. I have a couple of questions, Steve and Sean. So Sean, are you going to be building the houses on these lots? And is there, are there models to choose from in terms of, how this community is going to look? And are you going to be overseeing that to make sure that you don't have builders that go rogue and try to put in basements or half basements when none should be there? And what kind of oversight happens once a buyer purchases their particular lot?
So it is our intention to build these homes. Some of that oversight would become your building inspector, kind of also helps, as far as the quality, quantity of work that goes on around the site. But again, we anticipate building all these out. But Jim or the building inspector would be also next in line to make sure we follow this project. If somehow it went to market or somebody was in their building, Jim would be watching those setbacks and requirements, certainly of the board.
Okay, well, that's good to know. My second question are there plans for a cistern of some sort, Steve, in the event of a fire? Has the fire chief taken a look at this and made any recommendations?
Yeah, I did speak with the deputy fire chief. And then part of the review process, the fire chief had a review letter that he sent to Lee J, and Lee J forwarded off to me. He was asking for a cistern but they prefer sprinklers. We're going to do sprinklers. The cisterns, they have a limited lifespan, and talking with the deputy fire chief, he says they really prefer not to have those because of the maintenance and the short lifespan. So we will be having sprinkler systems in the homes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
can I go back on something that Susan asked, just for additional clarification from Sean? You're going to have a homeowners association. Am I to assume that that is going to some extent dictate housing looks from a type of material or certain color requirements or anything of that sort in your HOA documents?
At this point, it has not been developed to that extent in the actual draft, but yes, we would be approving the construction in the exterior detail, for lack of a better word.
So you, as the head of the HOA, until it's turned over to an executive committee, will be reviewing each project and approving the look of it before you allow it to be constructed?
Yes, yeah, essentially right now, the way we're going to market is design build. We're gonna have a couple of similar homes, but they will not be probably like duplicated units, so I'll be kind of unique, maybe similar in style, but likely developed custom design for each lot, which will help with our impact of these lots, will be part of that design.
To the chair.
Susan, Susan Sinnet, you had your hand up?
I do. I did have a question. I apologize. I looked through the plan and I was trying to see from all the different maps. The infrastructure that you're putting in, the electricity, the other sort of cable, things like that, are they be from your plans, not from what's currently being discussed? It will be above ground, underground. What are you planning?
It'll be underground. It'll be overhead across Log Cabin Road and then underground throughout the project.
Okay, thank you. And then the only thing you didn't touch on from their concern, in a sense you did, but it was one of those, it was the traffic. And then I see in your plan, you discussed it, but I don't know because I don't have access to that. Maybe you want to touch base on that part of it.
Yeah, so we did, in our application, there's a traffic memo that talks about trip generation. And how many trips this project will anticipate coming out on the road. We also have adequate site distance. Since we filed this, we did apply for and received an entrance permit from Maine Department of Transportation. I think everybody knows that there are high speeds on that road. To me, I think that's an enforcement concern. And I don't know how the town is looking to resolve that, but I think from a traffic generation, I think, based on what we're seeing, this is not going to overwhelm that road.
I think the issue with high-speed traffic would apply to any road in Arundel,
Yes.
because they just don't understand. It says 35, not 53.
You also put in your application, and I wanted it to be put in public record, that you're going to be putting a street light at the end of the property so that it would be able to see that they will be turning in and they will be coming out versus it just being a plain looking driveway. I wanted the applicants and people to know that.
Yeah, and we're also going to do some additional clearing because if you do go by this entrance, the one lot that's not developed on Log Cabin Road, there's quite a bit of vegetation that we're going to kind of clear out to help open up that view line as you're coming up Log Cabin Road and seeing the site. And vice versa, if you're in the driveway looking down Log Cabin Road, you're going to get a better view of traffic coming up the road.
To the chair.
Yeah, Marty.
The other thing to be noted that the traffic situation involves two towns, not one.
Correct.
Because one side's Arundel, one side's Kennebunkport.
They're only going fast on the Kennebunkport side.
Just for the record.
To the chair, one more question, please. So you were talking on, again, on the notation from Lee J. A mailbox is located out on sheet 11, sheet 4 of 11. Can you verify what that means on your maps? Because so that will not be impacting. In other words, I want to show that it's not impacting people stopping on Log Cabin or stopping anyplace else. It's a safe location.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me zoom in.
Oh,
here.
yeah, there we go.
There, sorry about that. Operator problem here. So here's Log Cabin Road. This is the entrance. And this is where the mailbox cluster is going to go, right over here.
Okay,
this-
so again,
this
I
would
just
be-
wanted it to be clear that it's not going to be anywhere near that would cause issues for anyone going on Log Cabin. They would be clearly in and clearly out, and there would be no problem getting your things.
Yep.
Okay, Steve, I have one more question. This is Susan Roth again. I know we did it once before with a commercial property on Portland Road, but I understand the Haskell's concerned about flooding and being in the floodplain and the possible impact your development, Sean's development might have on the safety of their home. Would it be possible for the HOA and in the beginning, Sean, to cover the possible downside of the development by having an insurance policy that would cover any issues that might occur as a result of the development. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how you would differentiate and make sure it wasn't just a naturally occurring problem as opposed to one that was caused by the development, but that might be a way to mitigate the Haskell's concern, to know that they, would have some protection and could be indemnified to a certain extent by any possible downside to having this development occur adjacent to their property.
It's a good question. I guess maybe I defer to Sean or Amy. I haven't heard of anything like that, but I'd be interested to see what it was done on the previous project you've referred to, how they dealt with that.
Well, I'm just trying to think of, we as a homeowners association do have a, I'm gonna call it a liability coverage. Now, what that details, I'm not sure without talking to my agent and looking, but so certainly there is some liability coverage with, I believe any association, or certainly should be. And then obviously as the developer while constructing, I would have my general liability, but I'm not sure of a specific policy to write specific to that. And again, I'll maybe defer to Amy. I don't know if she's seen anything different than the standard.
Right. This is Amy McNally, attorney from Woodman Edmonds. We represent Porterland Preservation LLC, and that it does strike me. I would be surprised if there was a separate policy that would cover that kind of liability if not covered by the general liability, either through the HOA or through the construction, but something we can certainly look into.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile asking the insurance agent and letting the Haskells know what's covered, what's not, would be worthwhile and could go a long way towards good relationships.
Well, and again, just to kind of reiterate that general liability policy, I believe at least during construction, anything that we create or make a problem would be covered by that policy. And then again, the HOA carries one. And again, I would certainly share this policy and its coverages to kind of look at that. But I believe that would be the routes that would be available to us.
I think that's reasonable.
To the chair,
do.
can I ask, where in your HOA does it have that article?
It may not be in there, but we always have them and certainly could add it to the document.
Because I currently don't see the one that you've submitted having that as a section. It's quite a lengthy, not lengthy, but because I live without an HOA. I'm saying I don't see that as an article within the one you've submitted.
We can certainly include general liability insurance coverage with the HOA is pretty standard, so we can certainly include that as well.
Okay,
I think
because
that's a
I
good
would
thing.
prefer that to be there in print versus when we say that this is complete versus it not being there.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Marty?
Question. If I'm understanding correctly, the two parties that they live across the street, is the drainage over there on the Kennebunkport side worse than the drainage is on the Arundel side overall?
Marty, it looks like the Haskells are on the same side of Log Cabin
Yeah.
Road as the development.
Okay, then I stand corrected for my question.
Yeah, they do. They live over here, Marty. And this is Log Cabin, and the drainage flows this way, it flows away from Log Cabin Road to Goff Brook. And they are in a very low section of the road. This is kind of the high ground, and then it drops down in front of their house, and it's fairly low for quite a while down Log Cabin Road.
I was just wondering, I mean, if nothing's been there, everything is just running one way. If things are broken up with your different drainage catch and everything else, it'll be less fluent.
Yeah, the first, if I can kind of just go to the plan, the first stormwater area is located right here. That's where our first basin is, and there's another one down here. So this road, the runoff from this road starts roughly about the top of the hill here. All the water that's running down that road will be collected here, and then a portion here will come to here. And then it's piped in, or by ditches, I believe, into this basin that's going to be located right here. And then that outlets, I believe it outlets down in this location. So it's downstream from the Haskell's property. And of course, this one and the next one that's down here is even further downstream from their property. So I mean, any runoff from this property is actually going to be outletted downstream from their home.
To the chair, Susan Senate. Can you move the map a little bit? So past where you're talking, where most things are being outletted, is that open space or not currently developed at all?
So
It says Old Green. Go past into, so
which way you want me to go, right or
I
left?
want you to go towards where it's going, the water will be flowing.
Okay,
So it says
so-
Old Green Acres and then open space and.
Yeah, so
is there
this is
anything
open.
developed?
yeah, there's nothing being developed here. This is all, woodland over here. And then, of course, this is the 100-foot setback from the stream, which will remain in its natural state. And then as you go further down, there's another little stream that comes in here, and this is all going to remain undeveloped here. And then everything, is all undeveloped over here as well.
And lot 15, as you have on your map, is the one that you're going to remain open space and possibly access to the Kennebunk Conservation Trust from
Yeah.
their side only.
Yeah, so that's this parcel right here.
Yep.
And they'll access it across this land over here.
But there's no other structures or no other homes that would be
No.
affected by possible runoff that
Nope.
direction.
No.
Okay.
And that's all downhill from the Haskells anyway.
And similarly on the other side for Mr. Wood,
Yeah, so on his side, we have there's a 50-foot minimum buffer, and we have almost 100 feet in here. And that's kind of parallel with his lot. And that goes all the way down. Then once you get down near the brook, it widens out. And then we have a 50 feet over here against the existing lot.
So Steve, there's a test pit for a septic in an area where there isn't a lot. Right over there, right? Oops, your
Right
hand
here.
moved.
Right there?
No, yes, right there, where it says TP 22.
Yeah, we did a bunch of test pits out there, looking at soils, part of the soils high intensity soil map. And that was probably one, that one could have been done, years ago, or it could have been done, not years ago, but earlier in the project.
I've lost voice.
So that's not going to be dug, Steve?
No, this is on the abutting property.
Okay, because there's another one down at the back of the property. So I'm assuming that's not going to be dug either.
No,
But it's
these-
off, it says TP 34.
Yeah, those test pits were done. We're showing all the test pits that were done. More for not necessarily a septic system, but for us to do our soils mapping.
Okay,
And that's why they're here. That's not where a septic system is going.
okay.
It's really just to show you where we did some test bits. And like right here, just for instance, let's look at lot 7. We have a test pit here, but 37 is the one that actually passed. So we have 2 test pits here, which I believe is where the septic system is going, which is, I think, right there. Same with lot 10. The septic system is going over here.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just curious because there were lots of septic systems that weren't attached to lots. And I was just wondering what they were doing out there.
Yeah, no, these are just test pits. They're not indicating a septic system there.
Okay,
If I click on the, can you see this plan, the nitrate study?
Mhm.
Okay, so that shows you where the septic systems are going, where the orange is. And you can see there's other test pits around that, but that's the indicator of where the septic systems are going. And then the yellow is the nitrate plume coming off of that. And that's in your packets and also in the town file.
And some people with their hands up to chair.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, I can't see them with the map up.
Oh,
Okay.
let me stop sharing.
I'm Ginny, right across the road here,
Yes.
Kennebunkport side. And I notice on your map, there's a strip that's not exactly straight, but it's labeled Mill Road. And I'm curious, what's that? Is that
That's an
going
old,
to the road?
that's an old paper street. That's the old, and I'll go, if I can still share my screen again, I'll
Go ahead.
go back to
Okay.
that.
All right,
So yeah, down here, this is the old Mill Road, comes down through here.
okay,
It's an old road that's undeveloped. I think Sean may
Okay.
know that. And it's not a road we're developing. It's a
Okay,
historic
all right.
road.
all right, thanks.
Yeah, I think you'll find a date there when it was abandoned.
Okay,
Okay.
Huh.
The Zoom user.
I'm sorry. That's me. I'm Margaret.
Oh, there you
Post.
go.
I'm the Hi. I'm the abutter between my brother Steve and Log Cabin Road. So my question is, there's a pond on the edge of our property. It doesn't show up on the map that's been drawn, and it connects to one of the drainage issues that kind of goes across the property.
Mhm.
So I'm, I guess, a little concerned about how the filling of the road is going to affect the drainage from the pond, because it's pretty low. And if that gets kind of interfered with, I'm a little concerned with what might happen in our basement of our house that's kind of next to the pond.
Yep.
You know what
let
I'm
me go-
talking about?
Yep, let me go back to the map. And I'm not sure where the pond is. I'm assuming it's maybe up here or maybe over here.
It is, okay, so if you go up a little bit more, Steve, just so you can see where our property is here.
Yes, this is your lot.
Yeah, so it's toward the, what direction is that? Western end. It's closer to Steve than it
Okay.
is to the Lucianos.
Okay,
Right about in there somewhere,
okay.
maybe. So you see this middle of the three road fillings?
Yes, right here.
It's kind of drains in that direction, and my guess is
Yeah.
that's kind of where it's going to go.
Yeah, so I think my guess is if it's either going to be flowing, these wetlands are probably because that's where the drainage is. There's some drainage that comes this way. And then there's drainage that kind of collects down here and then it flows out this
yeah.
way. So we
That's
are going
what's
to,
coming out of our pond.
okay. So we are culverting these locations wherever there's water coming across the road. And we're just letting that water continue to flow on through. We're not impeding it. We're not stopping it. We're just letting it flow as it naturally does. So the
Okay.
road shouldn't be creating a dam for you. It'll continue to flow through.
Okay, that would be good.
Yep. And that'll show up. I don't know if I have those drawings, but maybe this one here, if this is so this is can you see this drawing?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So there's so this is Log Cabin Road over here. And then the road drops down. There's a culvert right here. And then it continues. So there's a culvert crossing there, and then there's another one further down here. So that allows this drainage to continue on through, and then for this drainage to continue on through.
Okay.
So,
Size culverts are those, Steve?
I'm sorry?
What size culverts are those?
Hope I
I
can
couldn't
zoom
read
into
it
the-
on the map.
Yeah. I'm gonna look on here and see if it tells me. It
I'm
should tell
getting
me.
new glasses.
I'll go down here.
Does it say 36-inch or is that something else?
36 inch,
That's-
Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I-
3 footers. All right.
All right. So
Yeah.
they're pretty good sized culverts.
Yep. Okay. Like I say, I apologize. I couldn't read it on my copy.
So 3 areas that are in the darker gray, there's 2 culverts handling those 3 areas of drainage on the road.
There's one here.
Yep.
This is a fill. This water actually would come and flow that way. And then
Okay.
there's another one over here. And then there's another one further down over here.
So there's 3 culverts.
Yes.
Okay.
Steve, do you have to go to DEP for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And this has been filed. This has to go for a site location of development. And that has been filed. And the town has a copy of that application. I dropped it off for Ann.
So Steve, that, I'm glad you said that because I thought I picked up on something earlier that you said that they wouldn't be reviewing the pre versus post stormwater calculations. The
Correct.
DEP. But if it's going for stormwater, I mean, going for a site location, wouldn't they?
From what I understand, it doesn't qualify because we're under 3 acres of impervious.
Okay. So that, Rich, that plays into what I was gonna bring up is if that's the case, we should have this out for our peer review for
Okay.
stormwater.
Yep. I think we should send most of our stormwater out for, not most, all of our stormwater out for peer review.
Thanks for clarifying that, Steve.
Yep.
If the Haskells are still here, did we answer all of their concerns or Mr. Wood? Or not answer them, but address them? Is there anything that was missed?
Stop the share so you can see.
This is Steve Wood. No, I thought you did a good job of covering pretty much everything. Thank you.
This is Bob and Susanna Haskell. Thank you very much. I know both letters were a little bit redundant. The last one you read was the first one that never made it. So my apologies for not clarifying that. But thank you very much for the information you provided us.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for participating. Does anybody have any other questions? So Jamie, you want to make a motion on the peer review?
Sure. Move that we send the stormwater plan and calculations to a peer review engineer for review.
Is there a
Second.
sec- Was that you, Susan? Okay. Jamie made a motion for peer review on the stormwater. Susan seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none. Susan? Sinnet?
Aye.
Paul Green?
Aye.
Susan Roth?
Aye.
Is Marty still here?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Marty.
came back. I
Okay.
came back. I lost voice.
A or nay, Marty?
Aye.
It is unanimous. I'm assuming I don't have to ask Jamie. He made the motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there a typical engineer the town sends this out to for peer review?
We do have
Um,
somebody, but I'm not sure who it is.
right now I have another project that is in civil consultants' hands for stormwater. And I would probably send this one to them as well. But I will check and see what other engineering firms may be available to do that review for us. But it might be civil
Ask
consultants.
Jeff to put it on top of the list for me. Oh, no, he does a good job. We work with him. He's certainly very capable, and let him know we're working together.
I'll see, maybe I'll send it to someone else then. No, we'll probably send it out to Jay Stevens from their office is doing the engineering, the stormwater review on another project, so.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Rich, I also would like Sean to include in his documentation the information about their insurance policy. And so that it's included with everything else. And I would suggest that the Haskells take a look at that and see what it provides. Sean, you're going to ask anyway, but let's just see what it says.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, as far as, certainly we need to provide that as the HOA and, you know, even as the developer builder, along with the bonding liability, you know, that'll be put up with our bond to construct this, but certainly I will share those policies.
Great.
I formally would like to move that it be placed in the HOA because they have discussed it, but it was in the one they presented to us. That's all.
I second that motion.
Could you repeat that motion?
I move that we require that it be placed in the HOA because they've discussed it. They require that they put it in the HOA as a part of their homeowners agreement, the insurance policy that they've discussed.
Okay, shouldn't we find out whether or not such a policy actually exists before we say, put this in there?
They had said to me that they were going to be putting something in the HOA anyway, and it was standardized, and that they would be adding it. And so I was just asking it that we ask formally to do that.
Okay, well, hang on just for a second. Susan Sinnet made a motion. Susan Roth seconded it. And now it's open for discussion.
Right, this is about including the insurance
In
information
in the HOA.
post construction bond. You know, that the HOA carries a policy and that its information is visible in the HOA CCNRs.
So you were going to say, Amy?
Yes, thank you. I just want to be clear, because we're in this process of the planning, the HOA has not yet been organized. Porter Land Preservation is holds title to the property. So we have presented to the board a draft declaration, draft bylaws, and so they're still in the works. So because we wanted to make sure we had any feedback from the board and any conditions of approval that would be reflected appropriately in the declaration and the bylaws. That being said, there's certainly language that can be added to both the bylaws and the declaration that the HOA will carry general liability insurance. I think that that's something that we can include. I guess I just want to be very clear about kind of the status of the entities. The HOA doesn't exist yet and doesn't
Right.
carry insurance yet.
Right, by the time it gets to final review, we have to have that in the documents because that's going to be part of what we vote on.
And that's perfectly fair. So I just want to be very clear that moving forward, that the indication that insurance coverage will be part of the HOA, I think that language can be included in the documents. That's fine. But.
Yeah, and I think that's sufficient for now. I really do.
Right, and I appreciate what you're saying, Ms. McNally, and I'm not saying that it does exist because it's not a thing yet. I'm just saying I want to make sure that it's physically there before we approve things moving forward.
Wonderful, thank you.
Forward. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments by the board on the insurance aspect? Okay, hearing none. Those in favor, Susan Sinnet,
Yes.
Paul Green,
Aye.
Susan Roth,
Aye.
James Lowry,
Aye.
Marty Kane.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Is there anything else that the board would like to discuss concerning this issue? Hearing none, I think the next step is to submit a final plan so that we can go to a. Yes,
Point of
Lee?
clarification, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. I would suggest if you're thinking that they're
sidewalk.
going, I'm sorry?
No, we do the public hearing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, at least find the application complete before you do anything else. And whether you want to set a date for a second public hearing, certainly folks like the Woods and the Haskells have spoke this evening, but you may want to give them another opportunity, at least at final. But find the application complete this evening, and you could vote on preliminary approval so that they could prepare the final application with all of the issues that you did discuss this evening.
I think that's fair.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I move that
That's
the
why you
application
have
is
me.
complete.
That's right. That's why we have Lee J here. Make sure we do it right. So Susan Sinnet made a motion to deem the application complete. Is there a second?
Second.
Paul Green has seconded it. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, Marty?
Question, is that also making sure the conservation stuff is gonna be in there also
That will
On-
all be in
on the
there at the
final.
final.
on the final?
Yep.
Thank you.
And Joan is here. She'll make sure it happens. All right.
Well, I did note on the plan, I was going to bring it up for discussion. I did note on the plan that it said potential land, and I want to make sure that that issue is addressed for final so that we're assured that it will occur.
I would say as long as the board is in like kind, we're okay with that. And Joan, if you're on board here, I believe you were, or the trustees were okay with taking the donation.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And Sean and I have spoken, so I have every confidence that that will move forward.
Okay. All those on the board, those of you that are in favor of deeming the application complete. Susan Sinnet,
Aye.
Aye.
Paul Green,
Aye.
Susan Roth,
Aye.
James Lowery,
Aye.
Marty Kane.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Now, do we want to have a public hearing or do we want to wait a little while?
I would suggest we get feedback from the peer review and have a public hearing before we move forward on a preliminary approval.
Okay. So once we
That's
get,
just me.
You know, the final.
I think it's a good idea. Once we get the peer review back, we can schedule a public hearing. Or we can have the applicant
Or
come back and we can talk with them about whatever it shows.
at final review or before you actually grant preliminary approval?
We just granted preliminary approval.
I thought we just did that.
No.
yeah.
You
No.
only granted you only found the application complete. If you want to grant preliminary approval this evening, then you need to make a motion to grant preliminary approval. And we can automatically have a public hearing established for the final application.
Which we will only hold after we have all the peer review and everything in, correct?
Correct, sure, absolutely. I have the copy of the stormwater plan, and that is what will go to whoever the engineer is that I hire for you to do that review.
And I
And
can,
that will- all aspects will be, that we've just talked about, we put in, like Ms. McNally and I had that conversation, and your peer review will be there. So that could be something that we could just finalize a preliminary thing for. And then all that information will be there before we schedule the hearing. And the
Yes.
final review. Okay.
Right, yes.
All right. I move that it's preliminarily approved.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Susan Sinnet and seconded by Marty to deem the preliminary application approved. I believe that's the correct wording, is it not, Mr. Planner? Mr. Planner, Mr. Planner.
You are correct, you're fine with that, yes.
Okay, is there,
Unless there's any objection from Ms. McNally.
right,
No objection.
any discussion by the planning board? Hearing none. Those in favor, Marty?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Susan Sinnet,
Aye.
Paul Green,
Aye.
and Susan Roth went to quiet a barking dog. So we have 5 in favor.
There she
Susan,
is.
are you in favor?
Sorry, I'm trying to mute the dog. Yes, I say yes.
It is unanimous.
Great.
Thank
Steve,
you.
just as a cleanup, if we haven't got an electronic copy of everything, if you could get that for me and I could actually forward that to whoever we retain for stormwater.
Yeah, I think I did send one, but check with Ann. I did send her an electronic copy and I can resend it or send you a copy if you need it to forward along. So
Okay. Very good.
why
Thank
don't
you.
why don't I just do that? Why don't I just send you it? Then you don't have to look for it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda. Irving Road
Thank you.
subdivision. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Jeremy.
everyone.
Thanks, Steve.
You.
Have a good evening.
Look forward to
Thank
seeing you in a
you.
couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Irving Road subdivision, Randwick Trust, a minor subdivision application. Proposed 3-lot cluster subdivision on a 14.39 acre parcel, tax map 19, lot 1B off Irving Road in the R4 and Shoreland districts. Randwick Trust is the applicant. Jason Lafiades, PE of Atlantic Resource Consultants, is the applicant's agent. And I see Jason here for the first time in a long time.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Jason.
It's going
Jason.
well.
Yeah, so we're back in front of you. Did you, I forget, do you have Lee J do the thing or do you just let me jump right into it?
We let you jump right into it.
Okay, sure. So the last time we were here, I think you had, Lee J had some concerns about high water table, imagine that in Rundle. And the septic systems and the cluster arrangement. So I had a discussion with Lee J. We sent our septic guys back out, and we found more passing septic sites that would spread the septic systems around. So the new plan you have, which I can describe it to you, but I can also share my screen if you want. But we basically moved the septic systems further back from the houses, 2 of them, left 1 up front. So it created a better, so now the wells have more separation and the septic systems are further separated out from the houses. So I think that should pretty much answer his concerns. And I think we were all set. We went through everything with the fire chief about getting the driveways wide enough with big enough radii to get a vehicle in and back it up and then drive it out. So I think we're just looking for completeness in a public hearing at this point. I put the plan up just in case there's questions.
So Jason, I have a question. Was this for sale for a while and now you're back, or?
No, this is a different one.
No, this is
It's
down the
not a
road.
Rundle's Keep? No.
No, this is the Rundle's Keep was 8 lots. This one is just 3.
Okay. But it's adjacent to the Arundel's Keep, is that correct?
So oddly enough, the open space, it's frontages are not adjacent, but our open space abuts their open space. And we're hoping that Joan would be willing to take this parcel as well.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Joan, you have an embarrassment of riches here.
There's actually some good uplands in our open space, so.
Yeah, so if I may, I'll just follow up a little bit on what Jason discussed. So when I was looking at the plan as part of the review, I was concerned with the test pits that they had initially done with the soils. And I spoke with Jim Nagel about it. And he too was somewhat concerned. So that's why there was a delay. We asked Jason to go back out and find some better locations that were higher and drier, if you will, to be able to accommodate the septic system designs, because once this is done and those are constructed, if they're wet, they're not gonna do service very well for whoever purchases those homes. So we wanted to make sure that we got better locations than were originally done, and Jason has addressed that for us.
The chair, I'm curious why there was, why a high intensity soil survey was not, why is there a waiver for it? And why was there one not completed?
No, we did do one. So we
Okay.
only asked for the waiver and we were denied, or you basically, and that, so we went out and did the high intensity soil survey in the development area. We didn't do the whole open space because there was no point. So the high intensity soil survey has been done for the plan that you see in front of you.
Thank you. I was just going off of what we were given. It says a request for one was asked. So
Yeah.
thank you
But
for
it was,
clarifying that.
yeah, it was rescinded. Yep.
So just as another point for you, this is the last application, I think, that I inherited midstream, if you will. It was already in process when I came on board with you folks. And so, there, some of those things like the waiver issue and whatnot were not completely picked up by myself. This project was already in review when I came on board. So, and I think it's the last of that.
As a person who was not on the board when this was given, similar to you, Lee J, is there a possibility to see the total information before we get to final? Like the whole app, like I don't have the application. So in other words, can I have just this much? Not that it's a thing. but-
Susan, this might help you out. So when we come in for final, I believe we have to repackage everything again. So you will
Okay,
get a
great.
complete packet. And the only difference with this one is if you schedule a public hearing, we will get the full package back into you for final. Because I believe in Arundel, a minor subdivision can have preliminary and final granted on the same day if you wish. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions, Jason.
Sure.
Is there going to be a cistern on this property?
No, because the minor subdivision regulations do not require
Okay.
cistern. Yeah.
I was just asking. What about mailboxes?
So we would probably put just a gang box at the front of the driveway. So just three on a manifold post.
And have you thought about sprinkling instead of you got to do something for fire prevention?
My guess is he would probably sprinkle them. I don't know. We actually don't know who's building the houses. So I can get back to you on that and give you a definitive answer, but
I would say rest assured, if they're not putting in a cistern or have a pond or anything, that the fire chief will require that they be sprinkled under the NFPA 13D code.
Also, just for clarification, as we talked about with every subdivision coming in at this point, electrical and et cetera will be underground?
yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have to tell you, Jason, for a while I was beginning to think that this was never going to get back around to us. It just, because it was out there for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I like this better than I do some of the other designs that we've looked at. And the common driveway out to the road is a good thing.
Is there an HOA for this at all, since they're using a common driveway, or is it just a driveway, therefore you don't need one?
They're going to have
So
to have
it's just-
some kind of road maintenance agreement.
There will be a road maintenance agreement, correct? And then if Joan and the ACT take the open space, there's really no other function for a homeowners association. So
Okay.
it would just be a road maintenance agreement amongst the three lots.
Thank you.
So Jason, I have a quick question, just for my own edification and curiosity. So each one of these lots will be purchased by separate buyers, obviously, and they'll bring their architects and or contractors and will build whatever they, is appropriate to build on these lots. There isn't a GC builder for these three?
Yeah,
Or is
so
there?
my understanding is there's someone's going to buy all three and build all three houses.
Okay.
Next steps would be, just curious.
Find the application complete, set a date for public hearing and final submission.
Well, if nobody else has any questions, I move that we find it complete and schedule a public hearing.
Does
I
anybody
second.
have any questions? Then we need.
I
a second.
seconded it.
You seconded it? Okay.
I did.
Motion by Susan Roth, seconded by Susan Sinnet to deem the application complete and move forward to a public hearing. Any discussion? All
Can you
those in
unshare the
favor?
screen, Jason?
Oh, I can, sorry about that.
Jason, when can you get all the stuff together again, time-wise?
Oh, pretty quickly, probably by the end of the week, because it's all done. I just got to repackage it.
So when does it have to be in, Lee J? In order for you to schedule it? When do you have to have it?
Well, this past Monday was the deadline for the next meeting, so this will be the second meeting in March if he gets it back into us. I can tell you, well, for later, I mean, we're getting pretty hammered again with projects, but I think if he gets it back into us, we'll be second meeting in March.
No, the second meeting in March is in 2 weeks. You'd be looking.
Oh,
at the first one in April.
this is the first meeting in March, isn't it? March 1st. So it's probably going to be the first meeting in April.
Okay. Any other discussion about deeming the application complete? Hearing none. Those in favor, Paul?
Aye.
Susan Roth?
Aye.
Susan Sinnet?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Marty?
Yeah,
The application is deemed complete. It is unanimous.
Thank you very much. See you in a few minutes.
All right. And next on the list, new applications. We have 3 of them. Ellie Perkins, MJP Properties LLC, a major 4-lot subdivision sketch plan, a proposed 4-lot subdivision on a 17-acre parcel, tax map 39, lot 23 and 23B, off an existing private way, Helen's Lane, located off Sinnott Road in the R3 and the Shoreland Overlay Zone. Ellie Perkins is the applicant. Paul Gadboy is the applicant's agent.
So if I may, just at the beginning of this, Mr. Chairman,
Absolutely.
as the board knows, with the way I've been working with you folks, these new applications, you have not received any memo from me. It's an opportunity for the applicant to present what they're proposing to you at sketch level and for you to have conversation with them before they actually submit an application. So therefore you have nothing from me on the next 3 applications.
Okay, thank you.
The chair,
Take it away. Yes.
just so the rest of the board members know, and I'll leave it up to you guys. I am currently working with Mr. Gadbois on a project at my house. I have no idea what this project is. I do think I can be objective, but that's up to you guys. If you want, I can recuse myself.
That is
I
up to
see
the
no
board.
objection.
Yeah, I don't have any issue.
I agree. I don't have an issue either. So,
I guess
I
you get
just
to
didn't
stay
want
on
it coming out after, that's all.
enough.
if you were in a butter, it'd be one thing, but you know,
Nope, not on a
no,
butter.
but that's nice. Thank you. Hey,
Okay,
Paul.
Paul, take it away.
Yes, good evening. Nice seeing everybody again. I'm glad we're
Where's
doing
your
it Zoom,
cigar?
not in person.
Where's your
Yeah,
cigar?
I'm proposing, I'm sorry, yes.
Where's your cigar?
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
I'm proposing this as a 4-lot subdivision. I did meet with Lee J maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Currently, my client owns 2 separate parcels. She bought the first parcel containing 17 acres back in October of 2019. And then she bought a 3-acre parcel from the Palmers in January 2021. So I'm saying there's existing 2 lots currently. The proposal is to reconstruct the existing private way that's not built to any standards whatsoever to provide access to that second 3-acre lot, which was currently vacant. So my proposal is to put in a new private road, meeting the private road standards, actually exceeding the private road standards, and reconfiguring the existing lot, the existing 3-acre lot, to bring that frontage to my new private road. So what I guess I'm saying is, or the question is, I'm still proposing as a 4-lot subdivision and just reconfiguring one of the existing lots, which I'm calling revised lot 23B, primarily so that I don't have to go through the cluster development ordinance.
Is there an existing building on it?
I believe this would be a 4-lot subdivision, and the cluster requirement is more than 4 lots requires it to be clustered. And I have 1 existing, so I'm saying I'm doing 4 lots and 1 existing reconfigured lot to provide frontage to the new private road.
But Paul, I don't think you were here for some reason where some of these planning board discussions took place, but the planning board will take clustering under advisement and make decisions accordingly as to what we think might work best for the property. We did it with Arundel's Keep and Jason's earlier project before this one. So I don't think I'm speaking out of term, but I think, you know, we have some discretion if it works better, the land that you're going to develop. So you don't necessarily have to cluster it per se. I think that's correct. Rich, am I correct?
That's essentially what we said, is that we are willing to look at it, and then based upon the layout and the design as to whether or not we think you need to cluster it.
I looked at the design. Actually, I can actually shorten the road by 125 feet and still provide frontage to this lot that you see in front of you now. When you look at this project, the lots are about 2 acres in size. I'm meeting a 100-foot setback from an intermittent stream, which DEP requires 75. And obviously, we have 250-foot RP zone from Gulf Brook. We're not planning on doing anything with the 250-foot zone. Obviously, there isn't much you can do in that zone. Obviously, anyway, it's resource protection. So if you look at the overall project, between the 100-foot setback from the stream, the 250-foot setback, 250-foot setback from Gulf Mill Brook, I'm actually preserving 8.5 acres, which we're really not going to be using because it's pretty well protected by zoning. So that's 40% of the property right now. So I think it's still going to be an open concept. It's just that we won't have to have a homeowner association. My client will own 9.7 acres and she'll own the largest lot in the development. And all the other lots are basically 2 acres in size, except for lot 1, which is 3 acres, because the first acre is non-usable, which abuts Senate Road. So I guess we would like to proceed with the non-cluster subdivision for this project for the reasons that I just stated.
Did you
And
say,
it's for,
did you say one of those lots was 2 acres?
well, the first one, lot one, is 3.29 acres, and that's because the first acre of it is not usable, but it's included in that lot. And we have pretty good, and the other 3 lots are lot 2, 4, and the revised lot are all 2 acres or a little over 2 acres. The remaining land, which is lot 3, which my client will retain, is 7.8 acres, or it'll be 9.7 acres because I reconfigured the lots.
Oh, is the only thing that's built back there, the mobile home?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so
So
we
I'm,
wanna-
can I ask a
Yes.
question, please? And this is
Yes.
Susan Tennant. So I'm looking at the plan.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
you're talking, so lot 1
Yep.
is the first one, which is 3.29, lot 2, 3.9.
Yeah, I revised
Lot-
that. That's gonna be 2.1 because I shortened the road to save some road construction, so that'll be 2.1.
So lot 2, is there a way you can share your screen and show us what you're talking about?
I don't think I want to try it.
Okay.
But I mean,
Well, no, because when I'm looking at your
Yes.
thing, you're saying numbers that don't match what we have. That's why I'm just curious. So,
Yeah,
because
you
right
got
now
lot
lot
one.
3 says 7.8.
Yeah, that's because lot 2 is I'm shortening the road.
Okay.
When I resubmit this plan, I'm shortening the road because I'm gonna save my client some money. I'm making lot 2 2 acres. I'm taking the additional 1.9 acres and adding it to lot 3. So I'm kind of reconfiguring the lot lines a little bit. And maybe I shouldn't even mention that right now, so it doesn't really matter or pertain, but.
What
I
is
am-
lot 23B?
23B is the revised existing lot, 23B and tax map, lot 23B.
So you
So
actually
that's
have 5.
reconfigured. If you look at the existing conditions plan, you'll see the existing 23B is 3.3 acres.
On
But
yours, it says
that's-
2.06.
Correct. That's because I'm revising it so that I can bring that revised lot to the new right-of-way line.
Okay,
I
so
have to
right now you have
revise-
5 lots, not 4. You have 5.
I believe I have 4 lots and a revised existing lot.
There's 2
'Cause I already
current
have two-
lots.
I have 2 lots right now.
There's two lots currently within the overall parcel, overall
That's
project.
correct. That's correct.
And he is looking to make those 2 lots, reconfigure those 2 lots into 5 lots.
Or 4 plus the reconfigured 5th lot, yes.
Yeah.
4 plus 1 is 5.
So, yeah, no, MJ Properties is an if you look at the existing conditions plan,
Yes.
I'm gonna try to. MJ Properties, which is in the northeasterly portion of that property where that yellow driveway comes all the way up and in, is an existing lot of record.
Correct, but he's changing it to be part of his thing.
He's right.
Yeah.
But it's an existing lot, so it doesn't count towards the subdivision.
Even though he's changing it drastically?
Yes, correct. Main state subdivision law is really quirky like that with that stuff. And it's an existing lot, so it does not count towards the subdivision. One thing I would note though, Paul, is that I will be interested to see a revised plan because where you're keeping some of the lots right at 2 acres and you've got some wetlands on there, be cognizant of your net residential density requirement.
So point of
would-
clarification
yes.
for myself. So an existing lot in Arundel previously had to be 3 point whatever acres to build on. So at this point, you're taking a lot that's considered existing and now putting it not in a development, but calling it an existing lot, but making it down to 2 acres, but it's not in a development.
Yeah, he's
I-
just,
I'm
He's-
reconfiguring that 3-acre lot. I'm actually gonna be selling some of it to the abutter.
Okay.
Main state law, you're allowed to convey it to an abutter without creating it to be a subdivision. So I want to reconfigure that lot so I can bring frontage on my new private way because the
Gotcha.
design of this road and this private way system that was designed for that lot, it just doesn't meet any requirements whatsoever. And that lot has no frontage on it except for the existing driveway going into it. It does have a paper street frontage on it. So instead of these 9-degree turns to the right and then a 9-degree turn to the left, I want to redesign the road so I can meet the 150-foot minimum centerline radius, more applicable for the fire trucks, and just make it a better project and a better access for the lots. So that existing lot has a terrible right of way.
So when you come back with all your new drawings, I think everything will be clear.
Well, I guess it'll still be exactly the same thing, except that I'm gonna reconfigure lot 2 and 3 for acre size, but it's gonna look pretty much exactly the same, and I'm gonna still want to call it a 4-lot subdivision and not want to cluster it.
Yeah.
Because, I think, we want some decent sized envelopes. This is a very nice piece of property. I think these house lots right now, the house themselves has a 4,500 square foot footprint on them. I think these lots are going to be worth probably with the house, probably around $1 million. So we don't want to shrink this down to a postage stamp lots and not get what the value of the property is. So I think we're going to have a very nice road, meeting the private way, exceeding private way standards. May even be public road standards. I'm designing it for that, except for pavement. And I think these lots will generate some good income. And I don't want to make them postage stamp lots for the project. So I'd rather not do that. And I think we're protecting the environment. We're going to be 250 foot resource protection. We're not going to do anything in that zone except for what's allowed by ordinance, and really pretty much nothing's allowed in the resource protection zone except for trails and, things like that. And whatever conditional use permits are required, we'd have to come back in front of the planning board if we do anything that's conditional use related. So we're not going to be touching anything within 250 and anything within 150 and anything within 100 feet of the intermittent stream. So I think the resources are going to be well protected.
Suggestion, Lee J, where we should go from here?
A sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, I think spring is coming, let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think next would be, his submission of a preliminary plan and set a date for a site walk.
We wait till the snow melts?
I don't have a problem with that. I guess my only question is, I have no problems with the preliminary plan, although the preliminary plan is quite detailed in nature, which I have no problems doing, as long as we're okay with the sketch plan, I guess, as submitted. Because, if you're going to make a cluster, then it could change the whole design.
Yeah, I think that as I started this conversation, you're not bound by a cluster in this situation, and the board has discretion. So if we like what you propose, you're in pretty good shape.
All right, thank you.
The size of your
Okay.
lots is something, and you're showing how much open space you have. It just needs to be, like I said, we get to see preliminarily, because you do have varying numbers on different things that you say, I know this, but it's not the same as what you've given us. So
Yeah,
in that regard, it's nice to have that, but as a cluster part, you have enough acreage for each one. It's not as much of a concern as you said, like a poster stamp situation. So, but like to see what it is and actually see the wetlands and all those things. But again, it's snowy, so.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sidewalk would be obviously perfect. So I'm just assuming we can have a sidewalk before I can have a complete preliminary plan application. Or do I have to have a complete preliminary application to get a sidewalk?
No, we don't need to have, we don't need to have a
I'd be
complete.
glad to do a
one to get
site walk.
I mean, most of the time, yeah, we could do the site walk at any point. It simply becomes a
think
question of
that-
how many of us want to go trucking through the snow or the mud, which is
Well-
soon to follow.
I have no problems waiting for spring. But,
Okay.
so whatever works. But I think the next step would be, yes, a site walk so everybody can see it and I can get some feedback and then hammer out the preliminary plan requirements for sure.
Paul, it
We
sounds
already
like
got a lot of
wants to just
feedback.
wait until the mosquitoes come out.
Yeah, let's do it before the ticks.
So it seems that with that, what we're gonna kind of do is have to hold this in perpetuity, and when we know the weather is a little bit better to be able to get out there, is to contact Paul and say we're ready to do a site walk.
And I can certainly follow up
Sure.
sometime in April. Yeah.
Short of a submission being brought in and, that triggering the need for the site walk, so.
I think Paul would rather have us hold it in abeyance than in perpetuity, but
Well,
because perpetuity, Paul, you're
I think we
stuck.
could- I think it would be safe to say, leave it up to Paul. When he brings the application in, that triggers everything.
Well, I guess, I won't be, I can resubmit another sketch plan application, obviously, because it'll change slightly, if that's what the board wants, and then
But-
we can schedule. Then we'll schedule a site walk after that.
Yeah, that's what Paul is hoping to do, is have the site walk before he does all of his preliminary plan design.
Yeah, but
Right.
he can hold off on the sketch plan until he decides, okay, let's go take a look at it.
That's my
Question,
thought.
Paul,
The final plan.
Paul,
Yes, Marty.
question for you.
Yeah.
How much would it be to revise the site plan? Just with all the numbers that you're speaking of actuality?
I already did it.
Yeah.
So I have it in front of me. It's already been done. I just, I was playing around with it today and I said, geez, I think I can save 125 feet of road, which is a good chunk of change. So for my client, so I was just doing another stab at it. So it's all done.
And I think if we look at April, we're looking at the 5th or the 19th.
And we can discuss that later on, see how the snow is. I don't really care. You can schedule for the 5th, weather permitting. If not, we can go on the 19th.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We just need to have notification so that we can do a public that we're doing a site walk, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So can we put it on, Lee J, can we put it on your planner notes so that you can kind of, excellent.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest we target April 5th before the meeting.
Right,
That sounds awesome.
right. And if there's still a lot of snow on the ground, we can evaluate it and cancel before. But
Right.
Better off to schedule it than not notify people.
That
I will
works for
make
me.
sure
Thank-
Ian takes care of that.
And then if we get a lot of snow between now and then, we'll blame it on Paul Gadboy.
Go for it. Well,
And we'll hold that against him through this process.
We can't just take him out and hold him under the snow.
Well,
All right, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you on April 5th.
All right.
All right,
Have a good
Thanks,
evening,
Paul.
Paul.
Nice seeing you guys.
see you, Paul.
bye.
The next item on the agenda is Enterprise Drive, pre-application site plan review. Proposed 9,000 square foot building development, including warehouse and office space, tax map 12 lot 8E9 and 8E10, located in the Arundel Business Park subdivision in the BI zone. DAC Properties 3 LLC is owner. David Capitosto is the applicant, and Aaron Hunter, PE of Sebago Technics, is the applicant's agent. And Mr. Capitosto, did I say that even close to right? Because I butchered everybody else's name at least twice.
Hey, we never take offense at an honest try at it. So Capitosto, we'll take it.
Okay.
Most people just say David.
So.
Take it
just-
away.
Well, I was just going to introduce quickly. I know Aaron will be doing it, but Enterprise Drive, yes, you've seen this application or this project before, but they're looking to modify the lot configurations and do a different building than was previously approved on the site. So That's why we're back at sketch with this, so that before it comes in as a full application, you'll see what they're looking to do.
Is this the one?
Because
that's
We're,
up
we're,
and
a
going?
new- we're a new owner with it. It's
Right, and we did a site walk and a project out here year or two.
Yeah,
2019.
yeah.
That was the mosquito alley night.
Yeah, there
Oh,
you go.
God, I
That's the
remember
one.
that. But this was, we were talking about the road that circled the building. Is that right?
No,
And that we were going to change the road configuration
No,
no,
on
different
this
one.
project?
this is.
Wrong
May I
one?
ask we start from scratch because there's two of us on the board that were not part of this discussion, so that we
Okay,
can
so
actually just let them present it.
All
to
right,
us.
It's at
Aaron,
the
take it
top
away.
of Enterprise Drive, off on the right-hand side of the cul-de-sac. Originally, they were gonna have to fill in to get the driveway out to where they wanted to put the building at. And Marty's correct. I mean, I think collectively, the planning board donated about 50 gallons of blood that night. They
Yes,
had a field day.
Roger especially.
You tend to
Yeah,
remember
poor
the really
Roger.
cold ones and the really mosquito-y ones.
Oh, we all climbed up that hill.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, God, I remember
What?
that.
Weren't
We
you
did a
proposing
proposal.
2 different buildings?
Can we hear this proposal?
Can we move? Yeah,
Yep,
can we move to
so
this? It's
you guys
almost
all
9
ready?
o'clock. Can we-
Yes,
Okay,
Thank
I'll share
you.
my screen here. All right. So, as Lee J mentioned, this was previously before you guys and approved back in 2019 with a different development and a different owner. That plan involved 2 buildings with a access drive going along the property line from lot 9 and lot 10, which is the proposed development areas. So this proposal is a approximately 9,000 square foot building with an access drive off of Enterprise Drive. And the location for that was chosen to cross the wetlands in the narrowest area, and also to have access around the building from the right side, and to allow for improved vehicular maneuvering along the back of the building, as there's going to be 2 overhead doors and a loading dock. So that large pavement area back there is in order for a large truck to maneuver and to have access to those doors. So the proposed use of the building, David, and you can correct me if I'm misspeaking on anything here, but it's going to be a building with some office spaces for manufacturing use, with some warehouse space. And it's intended to be a light manufacturing. And as a part of that, it'll have some nice office space in the on the I guess what is the south side of the building.
Thanks, David. And so based on that light manufacturing and, classifying that as an industrial use, we're proposing 10 parking spaces to accommodate the amount of employees at the peak hour that they were expecting. So also, this site also has existing DEP permits for stormwater and wetland impacts. So as a part of this proposal, as you can see on the plans under the impervious area summary and the wetland impact summary, we're proposing to stay within those limits that were set forth as a part of that existing permit and subdivision plan. So the only thing that would be involved from a DEP perspective would be a minor revision application, just to give them the updated plans and any other documents in regards to sewer. There'll be private septic, and then there'll be a well also for water. They'll need the updated HHE 200 forms for the septic field design.
In regards to drainage, we're staying within that impervious threshold that was a part of the DEP permit. So the existing subdivision has a master stormwater drainage system that includes a detention area further towards Route 1. So we're going to be maintaining the drainage patterns that were assumed for the existing approved plan, and not proposing to provide any additional treatment or detention. We'll just simply maintain the drainage and grading in the existing direction towards the wetland along the front of the property. And then for other utilities, we'll be extending underground electric and telecommunications into the site. So we'll be coordinating that with CMP. I think that's pretty much all that I had for notes. I guess another thing of importance is landscaping. This site is existing undeveloped and primarily all wooded. So we'll be clearing for the developed area, but the main area that we'll be looking to add some screening would be along this eastern property line, just to provide screening from the adjacent property owner, and just to be more aesthetically pleasing. I think that's pretty much all I had, and I just wanted to get your guys' feedback and any issues or comments that you see in the plan before we move forward with our site plan review submittal.
Aaron, is it one tenant or multiple tenants that you're anticipating?
I believe it's
Okay.
one tenant.
Well, I can field that, if that's okay. So the building is designed to be executed potentially in 2 phases. So on the west side, which looks like the larger, if you were to split the building in half, the roughly 6,000 square foot section is intended to be built first. That has a kind of tall bay, and it has the full loading dock. Then there's a second phase, which will be all designed at the front end, which is the 3,000 to 4,000 square foot smaller section, lower ceiling than the primary, but still has, as you can see in the back, there's still a ground level dock available there. So it's designed so we could build the whole thing at once, or we could build it in 2 phases. It may have 1 tenant. It could possibly have 2 tenants.
Okay, thank you.
Just curious for myself, you're saying 10 parking spots for that amount of building and that amount of usage. Is that sufficient for what you're talking about?
We followed after the kind of rule of thumb of 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
So where this is a bit speculative, so my background is all things manufacturing, and I'm an entrepreneur, business owner in the area. And so I have a few irons in the fire, and we're also looking at this as a commercial property income. So we're trying to be flexible with the design based on what we know about light manufacturing operations. So we think it'll be sufficient, and some of that we'll be keeping an eye on as the opportunities unfold as we develop the project. But so we followed the basic rule of thumb for the parking spaces for now.
For nosiness, what kind of light manufacturing are you thinking of? Or is that still workable?
Sure. So the things that we're discussing at the moment, one of the projects that I'm involved in is a marine electronics project. So we'd be talking about the assembly of some electronics and mechanical components. So not highly labor intensive, not highly equipment intensive. So that's one opportunity. another opportunity might be some additional other light manufacturing, which might involve some CNC equipment and the like.
Thank you.
Have you looked at the parking ordinance that Arundel has in terms of the number of spaces that you're going to need?
Yeah, so we base that off of the industrial use standard for that, whereas that
No, we have
encompasses,
our own standards. In section 5 under performance standards, we have standards for required parking spaces, and it's based upon the usage of what's going in there, what it's designed to do.
Yep.
So you,
Yeah, we can,
you just may want to look at that to make sure that you get the right number of spaces.
Are you looking
Right,
at
and
that
so-
right now, Rich?
I am.
What does it say?
It depends. If you're doing automobile repair, 3 spaces for each bay. If you're doing childcare, it's 1 space for each 6 children. If you're doing
I
an office,
haven't heard either of those being proposed yet.
no, I understand, but there's 3 pages worth of descriptions about what it is that could be.
Oh, so you don't see one that would fall into a manufacturing or industrial or anything
No.
like that. I got you.
and
Well,
so
it says
I can
industrial business,
answer
it
that,
says-
guys.
Industrial business is one space per employee.
Okay, and that's what I
And
was,
that-
yeah. Sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So that's what we were basing it off of, that industrial use, where it will be a light manufacturing where that's under the definition of the industrial in the ordinance. So we were basing it off of that based on the number of employees
Okay, I'm
that we were
sorry, I
kind
thought
of anticipating.
somebody had asked about that and the comment had been made, it was 1 space for 1,000 square feet.
I don't
That's
believe.
not the way our ordinance reads.
Yeah, so that's kind of just a general rule of thumb for this type of use that we used, and David had mentioned that. But that's not how we were
Okay.
essentially meeting the ordinance. We're meeting the ordinance just by the industrial use and providing based on the anticipated number of employees.
Okay.
So that's still, subject to possibly change, but that's kind of our best estimate at this point.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So Aaron, one of the things I guess you want to look at is how far underneath any amendments you'd need in your stormwater design, if you needed to add any additional parking, if the use intensified at all. I mean, I'm looking at the northeasterly area as you head back behind the building there, where you could put another eyelash set of parking spaces if you need to. But the question is are you still going to stay within the impervious area for stormwater?
Right. Yeah. So right now we're pretty close up to that threshold for the impervious. So if we need to add in additional parking spaces, we have to take a closer look and see if we could fit something in there. But I think we'd probably need to go forward and look for a amendment to the existing stormwater permit.
You just might want to consider that as you're preparing your app for future parking needs. I mean, let's hope whoever goes in there is successful and needs to grow their employment, and you're going to need additional parking.
Right. And that's something that I guess could be evaluated even after approval. If, they end up getting something that needs additional parking, that they could come in and I don't know if that would be just a site plan or a de minimis change or something through you guys. I'm not sure how that would be handled, but that'd be helpful to know.
So Aaron, how close are we to the impervious? Because we did have another layout where we had looked at more parking spaces if needed, but how close to that number are we?
Yeah. So based on refining the site plan, we're pretty much right up that limit there. just to get the truck turning to work and to get it all in there.
Yeah, so one for everyone's benefit, one difference between the original design that you'd looked at with the other owner and our design, is the full truck dock. The other designs were all ground level overhead doors. And so to make this building flexible for light manufacturing, like to be able to pull a truck up, which kind of dictated the way that Sebago reoriented everything. And so.
To the chair, just for my curiosity, what is, I can see who all the property owners are everywhere else, but what are you putting which I appreciate very much, putting the buffer and the added trees. What is on the other side of that? Because I don't see that listed, just for my curiosity. The one that's on the new, but you haven't did new growth on this side. Who has that property?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys can see my screen here with the Google Earth. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Yes.
So it looks like it's main turbo diesel, so some sort of a car.
There's
car
a lot
shop
of,
or-
yeah, there are a lot of trucks in that lot where it says main turbo diesel.
thank you.
So that's all.
Thank you.
Lee J, question about maybe just touching base with the code officer on his interpretation of the ownership of both lots and the internal property line.
Yep.
And any setbacks and how he would, waive or what his disposition on those would be.
So, yeah, and I guess I'm kind of curious because I have not spent any time on this application at all, but is that internal lot line, Aaron, on there to show us where the current lot split was approved? And is that lot line going to go away?
Correct. That's where the lot line was approved. The previous plan that was approved maintained that and had a building on each side with a shared common access drive. So I believe that our intention would be to go away with that unless there was a way not to do that, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would think the best solution would be consolidation of the two lots into one. If you needed to resplit it at some point in the future, I mean, because where that building's located, the planning board nor the code office, I don't think would be much in favor of, having that building right on that line. Actually, it's encroaching based on your current design. So just seeing that those two lots consolidated makes the most sense.
And that's where to me, just from a common sense standpoint, is if it was smack dab centered over the lot line, you have that understanding that, okay, it's these two lots are being used as one. But where it's right on the edge, I would be concerned that it would be potentially split and somebody tried to do something with that second one, the westerly one.
Correct.
Yep. And so Lee J, in order to combine those lots into one, would that require subdivision amendment?
No, because you could look at it as sale of land to an abutter, which under Maine subdivision law doesn't count.
Okay.
Where it would become an issue is if you wanted to resplit it or relocate that internal line for a second client in the future. But to just consolidate that into one, that would not require an amended subdivision because it's sale of land to an abutter.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's hard to imagine, given the nature of the layout and the manner in which we're utilizing the land, that it would ever be split apart. I
Yeah,
suppose
given the
a lot more
size of the
history.
wetlands.
People's
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you all have a lot more history in how clever people can sometimes try to be. So
Right, stranger things have happened.
stranger things have
We're
happened.
not clever, really.
You
Not
can't
clever.
imagine. You can't imagine.
It's nice to button it up so it's not an option. That's all.
Absolutely, and I don't think we would have any problem with that if that was part of the, if that was a contingent for approval. So
The chair,
Yes,
I've got a couple questions. One is, are you guys, depending on what you're putting in there for some kind of industrial use or whatever, I'm sure you're talking with the fire chief, right, about fire suppression and how you're gonna do that as far as sprinklers or something. For example, if you're gonna do a welding evolution versus a machining evolution, you're probably gonna want something a little bit more robust. So that I imagine will come in with the final plans, right?
Yeah, and so we did receive a comment that Lee J sent us from the fire chief in regards to providing fire suppression or sprinkler system to meet NFPA requirements. So that's something that I'm going to be coordinating with architect and David to make sure that we're able to meet that.
Okay. And the
There
second
is an
question,
existing,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry. There is an existing fire hydrant along Route 1 on the opposite side of Route 1 at the entrance. And I was looking back at the previous plan for the project where they were using that, but it looked like the fire chief did want some additional sprinkling or something, but this is a different project, but I'll have to coordinate further with him to figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, not knowing what you guys are doing, it's kind of hard for us to even think, right, what's going in. So I automatically then revert to worst case scenario of thinking you're gonna have a whole bunch of welding guys in there. So that's why I asked those dumb questions. And then the other question I had was where you're putting your driveway and you're affecting the wetlands, are you guys putting a culvert or something in there so that doesn't dam up?
Yep, so that just to meet Army Corps requirements and get any sort of permit required through them, we'll need to put a 36-inch culvert embedded 12 inches so it has a natural bottom. So that will, provide flow to be maintained through there and allow the different creatures that are in there to be able to go through it.
Okay, cool. I'm all set. Thanks.
You may want to check your stormwater, because prior to some of these other buildings that were built up to the Enterprise Drive, I wasn't sure if Paul Gadbois was running almost to the max for flow towards Route 1.
Okay, yeah, we can, we are within the impervious allowed for the permit.
I'm just throwing that out for information.
Yep.
I don't remember. I'm trying to think that. Do you guys remember what we did with from a fire point of view up there?
They had most of that was going to be like garage for his trucks, and the rest of it was going to be like contractor storage spaces. So there wasn't really needed a lot of fire suppression and everything else, because it's more than 1,000 feet from Route 1.
Well, never mind, it's more than 1,000 feet. You can't lay a line across Route 1. We tried that when the boatyard next to Champagne's caught fire.
Yeah.
We laid an LDH across Route 1 to supply it with water, and DPW came through with their snowplow and cut the line right in half. Didn't even slow down.
I will go back and research the file as part of this submission and see what if any were issues for that.
So are the other buildings in this in this industrial park? Are they sprinkled buildings? 'Cause
No,
there's no water main there.
this
I-
was all
I-
mostly done before sprinkling systems were even thought of.
Sprinkling systems have been around for quite a while, so the buildings, some of the buildings don't look that old. In any case, I'm familiar with the codes, if as a manufacturer, buildings that we're in and participate in. We understand about fire suppression and management of all of that. Sometimes sprinkled buildings, sometimes localized fire suppression systems for operations. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that, and we'll be looking forward to following up with the fire marshal as well.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? What's the next step, Lee J?
Next up is for them to finalize their application for site plan review and get it into us and move the application forward. I think at this point, they were looking for feedback to see if there were any issues, which I think there are some for them to look at and consider before they finalize their application.
Okay.
Would they have to combine the lots, Lee J, as part of the completion of that process?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so,
but that won't require any subdivision or subdivision amendment approvals or anything. That's just, if they're purchasing the two lots, then their deeds will just be consolidated into one.
got it.
Lee J, I have a question in regards to the next submission deadline for the next meeting, I guess.
Yep.
What would the next deadline be?
Yeah, last Monday.
Okay.
So,
April 5th.
yeah, I
You'd
mean,
have- I'm sorry, go ahead, Lee J.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna,
Go
you
ahead,
have
Rick.
to have it in, the meeting would be on the 5th.
14. Or 10.
14 days before the
Yes.
meeting.
Yep,
So
so
it'd be April 5th, right?
well, you're looking at April 21st. Because,
Yeah.
March 21st, because the 5th is 2 weeks later.
Correct.
Okay.
So you've
Yeah, I'm not
got
sure
about 2
if
weeks
we'll-
to get it in.
Yep, we'll shoot for that one, but it might be the next one. So
Okay.
in regards to the DEP permits, if we were to look at going over those thresholds and needed the amendments to the applications, is that something where we could have that as a condition of approval, that we provide the DEP permits once we receive those, as that'll probably be the longer process?
That's generally what we do. We ask you to give us a copy of the submission, and everything is conditional upon their acceptance.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all I had for questions, unless you had any, David, on your end.
No, my first time before the Arundel team here. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and the consideration for our project.
All right. Look
Yeah,
forward to
thank you,
seeing you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the list is Crossroads MHP subdivision amendment, an amendment to the subdivision plan to change the location of the fire cistern on a previously approved 55+ community tax map 29 lot 24. The applicant is Crossroads at 55 LLC. Norman and Deborah Cloutier and Jason Vafiades, PE, is the applicant's agent. And there he is.
Yep. Back again. Thanks everyone for working so late tonight. We're relatively new working for the Cloutiers, and couldn't have met nicer people. Happy to be helping them. And so this is a cleanup application for their existing park at the Crossroads community. I'm sure you guys probably have some background knowledge of this project. They have installed a new fire cistern in the location that we show on Brad Lodge's updated record plan, which you have in your packet. This location is different from the previous location, which was down the road in between, I think, lots 11 and 12. And I can actually show you if you're interested in seeing. So the old location, if you wanna, I'm gonna change myself to a hand here. So the new location is this yellow. Doesn't want to let me do it. Okay, here we go. The new location is this yellow area here, which is right next to the Campground Road, runs right out here. And the old location was this small area in here between lots 15 and 16. So the cistern has now been installed here, which the fire chief I believe wrote a letter to the Cloutiers, which is in your packet. That was a good location for him. It gives them access to it. If they have a nearby fire, they can just pull right in and hook up and back out and get out of there quickly. And other than that, the project is fully constructed and complete and stabilized.
So Jason, there's only one cistern for all of that development
Yes.
on that side?
On this, right, well, there is only currently one, this development on this side, and that is correct. And so that's, I believe, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that a 15,000 gallon tank? I know Deb's on. I'm pretty sure it's a 15,000 gallon tank, which I think the ordinance says one 15,000 gallon tank for every major subdivision.
And the fire chief was fine with only one in the front?
Yes.
If I remember right, when we looked at the initial proposal of the other side of the road, the issue was that the cistern hadn't been installed yet.
Yeah.
Right.
On this one to complete it, right?
Correct.
Correct. That's what I remember.
Yep. So we're taking care of this before we
Come back with the other side.
the other side.
Yep.
I was gonna wait a little while to bring it up, Jason, but since the issue did come up, I object to this. I object strenuously. They have known for the better part of 9 months that they needed to come back before this board and amend the original subdivision and they're the ones who notified us of the issue. They told us that they hadn't built a cistern, so we told them they had to get an amended subdivision in order to move the cistern, and they have not done so. They snuck it in the dead of night and expect us to bless it. I got a really hard problem with that.
Is your, which I understand, Rich, is your consternation based on the fact that they were supposed to install a cistern. Nothing in the approval, I think, specified a deadline, although one would assume that you would have the cistern in as you were bringing the houses in, obviously. But from an engineering perspective and a flow perspective, the new location is better than the old location. I'm within some procedural or perceived procedural, faux pas. The end result is a better product. We can discuss, I'm just recently involved in this, and this was like one of the first things that we got together and pulled together was this application. So.
Yep. No, I understand that. I'm not happy with the fact that, one, it wasn't done when it should have been done. And then two, when they found out that they had to come and get an amendment so that they could fix it, they went and they put it where they wanted to put it, and then ask us for the amendment.
In their defense, there was only one place to put it. So I understand that you drove by the site during the installation, or at least saw the pit.
I did.
That cistern, the only place you could actually fit it on the property is out there. Even, so the cistern size, if you look at the boxes, that 15,000 gallon one in the old plan, they don't come that size anymore. They have a bigger footprint because they're not, they're installed shallow or deeper into the ground to prevent them from freezing. And so therefore that they've got a bigger profile because there's more fill over the top of them. So had I designed the original plan, I would have put it in that shaded area where we've got it up there. Because I just don't think you could have installed it anywhere else.
Jason, to your point though, that if it would have been installed prior to all the homes being built and developed, it wouldn't have been necessarily an issue. So the cistern was put in after the fact. Again, I think it's a better location. I'm just saying that it seems to be moving forward for the next process. It needs to be done in more orderly and timely fashion than putting it in after the fact when people are actually living there.
Oh, absolutely. And that's my role, to keep everything sort of in the process and the proper order, which we are in a contract to work on the other side as well. So I just would say, like, from a maintenance perspective though, if they had to actually if that cistern ever cracked, and you had two units sitting where there are, you could potentially undermine, if they're on slabs, you could undermine the slabs, excavating that system out. So if they ever had to dig this cistern out, that the part of that road would kind of get all torn up. So anyway, being what it is, that's why we give such a big easement for these cisterns now. Usually they're 50 by 80.
The last thing we have, just curious, the last thing we have is 2/21/22 from Ann saying that it wasn't completed and waiting for the water. Has it been completed as of now and filled?
I do not know. And I think Deb's on the meeting. Maybe she could just text me if she's following along.
She might be on mute, not realizing she's.
Deb, are you on mute?
So you don't know whether or not the cistern is even operational at this point, is that correct?
I don't forget back, but I gotta believe the last time I talked to them, which was 10 days ago, that they had passed the pressure test. So I'm assuming they filled it up after that.
Well, we have a thing from 2/21/22 saying the Crossroads cistern has been recently installed, a new location located. The fire department can notify me when the fire department can fill the tank. The new site location will provide adequate water. So it's basically saying it's not necessarily done at that point. So again, this is a while ago. I'm curious if it's done.
Yep, that I do not know.
So Jason, while we're waiting to hear back from one of the Cloutiers, I think what Rich is referring to is that the process has the order of go in terms of how things get done haven't been completely transparent, or at least from some of our point of view, it hasn't been as clear as it could have been. And when we learned initially that there was no cistern there in this particular project, it came out by happenstance. It wasn't, they weren't directly telling us that it wasn't there, but something was said that opened the door to ask the question, where was the cistern? And we learned that the cistern had never been installed. So I think what Rich is referring to, and I know I feel the same way, because the entire lot was completely cleared and the land was completely denuded when we went there for the site walk. And Rich, am I correct? And a lot had already been done prior to the planning board even getting there. So my feeling is that on this next project across the road, I really think it's very important that they dot every I, cross every T, and do things in the proper order.
Yes, well, and that's probably why they have us on board now, because we try to keep everybody on the right path. So duly noted.
So.
Through the chair,
Yeah, Marty.
wasn't there some discussion about originally trying to put the cistern across the street and then so they could complete
Yes.
where it is now?
Yeah, I think that's right, Marty, and then we learned that there was actually no cistern.
Yes, yes, but what I'm saying is they were gonna try to put one across the street to cover this also.
Right, because they said it gave off 122 gallons a minute or some crazy number because it was into the aquifer, remember?
Yes.
That was the well. That wasn't the cistern that they're looking at.
Oh, I meant the well that was going to feed the cistern had some crazy amount of water, and so they felt that they could piggyback the new development on that which existed across the road.
The discussion of it came apart because the cistern that we're talking about, the amount of water, and then they basically had enough water to do all these homes and across the street from their aquifer. And then they said, yeah, and when we get our cistern involved too, it can fill that. So that's when we red flagged it. We went, huh?
Right.
What's he talking about?
Right.
So that's the process of it, was that basically that one aquifer well was covering all of the water for both sides of the street. And then it would be okay because if they had to, they could use it to help it once the cistern was there. And we're like, what are you talking about? Why isn't the cistern involved yet?
And that's why it's especially important, Jason, that they keep the order of go the way it should be and let everything unfold, or you have to make sure everything unfolds in the proper order.
Sure, yep. Nope, understand that completely. And so the fire department has not filled the tank up yet. So I think they're just, they're waiting for the fire department to schedule a time. Because as you know, that's 15,000 gallons is a lot of water. So it takes.
Right, but this whole development that exists doesn't
It's
have any
unprotected.
fire protection, right? Because the cistern isn't full.
So
Correct.
this over
it doesn't have-
55, their over 55 housing development has no way to protect from fire.
Right.
Yes, so we just, let's try to be careful what we're saying here. There are other sources of water nearby. The cistern on this project is not operational yet.
Right, but I think it was a requirement at the outset on this side that there was a cistern and it never got installed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no one's arguing that, we put it in out of good faith. No, it's the fulfillment of this project.
Right.
And I actually like the location more than where it is right now because it is accessible. So I'm not upset about the location of it, that it's changed, it's just the fact, the process. So we can move on from that discussion. I'm just saying that's what we're talking about.
So where are we, Lee J?
We are, I did provide you a very basic short memo with this application as an amended approval for this, and I did provide you a draft notice of decision or finding of fact for you to consider for tonight, so that we can try to move this along. As I've had conversation with Jason as well about this whole thing, that until we can even consider entertaining the second phase, which we did see previously with a previous consultant, that we needed to get this issue addressed first. And yes, I think there's been enough discussion about the fact that things were not done in the order that they needed to be done. But you do have a potential notice of decision to approve this application tonight so that we can move ahead with all of the other issues that we're gonna need to deal with on the other project.
Well, I would like them to fill the cistern and I would like to make sure it's working according to plan before we, this is my opinion, before we approve anything on the other side of the road.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I
Okay.
think Jason and I have had very preliminary discussions about the other side of the road, but I have not even seen a new design yet, which I suspect will be somewhat different than the design you folks saw the last time. So, yeah, no, this is the first step in trying to get them to comply with what they were supposed to have done the first time on phase one or on this side of the road, so that we can then start looking at what they're trying to accomplish on the other side of the road.
There's a typo on page, second half of it has the date. This is between lots 15 and exclamation point 6.
On the notice of decision?
Yep.
Okay, that's easily corrected. What, did you set on page 2?
On the back where it's signed,
Oh, okay.
it says 15 and
Yes.
exclamation point 6.
I see that rather than a 1. All right. By the time anybody comes in to sign it, it will be corrected.
And adding some punctuation at the end of that sentence would be great.
Gotcha.
Teacher eyes, sorry.
Jason, when do you anticipate the cistern being fully operational?
I'd like to say at any point within the next week. I don't know. I don't know the all the specifics of how that happens. You know, does the fire department have to have an extra couple guys on staff? Unfortunately, I'm just not all that educated on how that happens. So.
And how are they going to fill it, with the well, or they're going to bring water in?
No, the fire department fills it out of their tanker trucks. So
Okay.
the water, because they actually have the right hookups right on the truck. So these are made for truck hookups. So instead of them sucking it, they're going to fill it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm being told next week. That's all scheduled for next week.
So keep us posted when it's done.
Sure.
Please keep us posted when it's done.
Yeah, I
Sorry
suspect
about
there'll be a conversation.
Sorry, it's getting late. We're getting a little testy. Sorry,
Please
Susan.
keep us posted.
To the chair.
Yes.
Are we just approving that the cistern meets the original specs and it's now just in a new location? As far as its operation, that's between the building inspector and the fire department. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the planning board,
We just want to know.
right? We just want to make sure before we look at phase 2, it's actually there and it works. But for this decision tonight, it's got nothing to do with us.
Understood,
You're-
but I still want to know when it has water in it,
Okay.
please.
Yes, I will, as soon as, when I know that's out there, perhaps I need to educate myself anyway. Maybe I'll go out while they're filling it up.
What's the next step to make this decision to go forward? What do we need to say or do to move this to?
Motion to approve the amended plan to include the cistern in the new location.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to the plan to locate the cistern in the new location, lot 1.
Second,
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. I will read the findings of fact. Notice of decision, findings of fact. The owners of the property are Deborah and Norman Cludier. The applicants are the owners. The property is located on Campground Road and is identified as Arundel Assessors Map 29, Lot 24. The property is 14.3 acres in size, 5.2 acres remaining undeveloped with frontage on Campground Road, and is located in the urban residential R1 and mobile home overlay zoning districts. The applicant proposes the creation of what?
Where are you?
Number 5, the applicant proposes the creation of 22 lot units for mobile homes. He already has them there.
Yep. Take that out. This, I tried to just cut and paste from the previous amendments.
Okay. The plans have, I'm going to start at number 7. We've gone through who owns the property, where it is. The plans
Yeah.
have been revised by Atlantic Resource Consultants, 541 US Route 1, Suite 21, Freeport, Maine. A public hearing on the final plan was held November 13th, 2008, and approved. A public hearing was held on the amendment request on August 8th, 2009, and approved. This amended review did not require a public hearing. The review was held on March 1st, 2022. Conclusions: the criteria of Title 30A, Section 4358, Regulation of Manufactured Housing has been met. Number 2, the criteria Section 8.9, Manufactured Housing of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance has been met. Number 3, the applicable standards of the Arundel subdivision regulations and conditional use standards have been met. Decision: based on the above facts and conclusions, on November 13th, 2008, the Arundel Planning Board approved the application for Crossroads Community, a 22-unit mobile home park with associated infrastructure as shown on sheet 3 of 9, entitled Crossroads Community, prepared by Brad Lodge, PLS, dated 2/19/07 and revised on 7/10/2008. The Arundel Planning Board has also approved the amendment to the November 13th, 2008 approval, granting the applicant a conditional permit, a conditional agreement performance guarantee. This amendment is consistent with Section 13.6 of the Arundel subdivision regulations. The Arundel Planning Board has also approved with another amendment to the November 13th, 2008 approval. This amendment is consistent with Section 13.6 of the Arundel subdivision regulations. The Planning Board reviewed an after-the-fact amendment to relocate the cistern originally approved and to be between lots 15 and 16, and has now been installed in lot 1 of the development. So approved by the Arundel Planning Board this first day of March 2022.
To the chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Number 10, is that number 10 on the findings of fact? This amendment review did not require a public hearing. Is that a true statement, or did not have a public hearing?
It does not require a public hearing.
So
And that is
okay.
a true statement.
I only have one word change, and I hate to nitpick, but
No, that's fine.
in the last sentence of this, before the signature block, it says the planning board reviewed and after the fact amendment to relocate the cistern.
Yep.
Is the word relocate right, since there was no cistern to relocate?
Yes, because
Or
on
would
the
you just say
original-
locate?
On the original plan, it was supposed to be someplace else, so it has been relocated.
Okay, all right, that's all I wanted to know. Okey doke. I'm good. So do you need a motion, Rich?
No, we have a motion on the floor
And a second.
and a second.
Right.
And let me collapse this down.
Jason has to there you go.
There we go. Okay. All those in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Susan Roth,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Susan Sinnet,
Aye.
Marty,
Yeah.
5 in favor, 1 opposed.
Thank you very much.
You are quite welcome. And let's see, the next item on our agenda.
It's getting late, Rich.
Yep, I know. I'm just trying to find where I put the agenda, because I think the next item is the is other business. So if the Town planner has no other business for us.
I do, but it's not that important, so due to the lateness of the evening, I'll allow you guys to move to adjourn. How's that?
Sounds good. I move we adjourn.
I second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. This meeting is over.